Thank you for
Okay,
accepting to share.
okay. Hello, my name's Wangeshi, and I'm from Kenya. It's in my name. I'm 16. I go to Risinga. I'm doing my A level and BTech, and I'm here to share my story about being dyslexic and my journey throughout school. For me, I was fortunate enough to go to a really good school called Porterhouse, and that's where I found out I'm dyslexic. And it's pretty much the only school I've gone to in the last. I've been there for a long time. I found out when I was dyslexic around 4 years ago, mainly, and from then it's been a journey of from my teachers and my parents going through the learning lab. At Portal have a learning support center and they have a special doctor who comes to check out students on their stages of learning. And for me, this doctor came and we did an assessment and I was diagnosed with dyslexia. Then after that, I was assigned to the lab to one of my teachers called Miss Anne, who basically helped me okay, not adapt, but adapt to it and helped me find strategies in learning to read. Handwriting for me was not a big issue. So that in that area I was good, but mainly reading, spelling, math. Yeah. For me, I have dyscalculia. Yeah, that one for math. And it's been a journey, I can say. And the thing about Porterhouse is that they were very accommodative. They have very good teachers at the learning lab who cater to every student. So per student, like every student who has a learning not disability but different ability is given a teacher, and from there you do they have their own curriculum. You learn at the same everything that everybody else learns. However, it's more catered for someone to understand it. Like for me who learns things slowly, especially for English, that's what I mainly worked on with my teacher. Math, I was helped by my math teachers, and one is actually here today. And so that's how I went through school and all those other things. And then from there, I went to give me a second.
It's fine.
Okay, sorry. So from there we mainly did the curriculum. For me, the examining body that okay, mainly British schools they cater to they also have sections for people who are differently abled, like if you have autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and all those other things, they give you special, I wouldn't say special treatment, but it's basically that. Like for me, that looked like I had a teacher to read for me during my exams. I was allowed a reader because that's where I am at my level right now. But for other guys with severe dyslexia, they have their teacher write, the same teacher who teaches them in the learning lab writes. They write for them, they read for them. There was this other girl in my school called Abby, and she had severe dyslexia, so the teacher would write for her, read for her, and I think that's pretty much it. And then and we'd also get extended time. Extended time, it depended on how severe your dyslexia is or was, depending on the age of school you're in. Starts at either you get 100% more time. So that looks like if exam is 1 hour, it automatically becomes 2, or 30% going down. So me mainly I got 30%, no, 50% of extended time. So I would usually get an extra 30 minutes while the rest of my classmates finished exams. So other than that, um, we mainly did English, yeah, and reading, a lot of reading, like a lot of reading. The learning lab also accommodates people with that disability, okay, not disability, different abilities. There's this girl in my school called Angie, and she has ADHD and autism. I think it is autism. And she has a special teacher that walks around with her and is with most of the day and attends her classes with her. Every once in a while, the doctor for the learning lab, the he comes and he does an assessment for each student, and every time before you sit for an international exam, given extra time, and there's an application form that you fill. And the good thing about this is that you don't have to pay for it. You don't have to be dyslexic, which is really nice. So it's just an accommodation that they're making for you. And I think that's it. And all the teachers were accommodative to my needs. And yes, that's never really struggled with being dyslexic in school. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you, Angeshi, for sharing your story with us. Um, at this point, I would like to ask if there's any question, any any additional to what Wangeshi has shared. I can see there's a hand from Carol K. Carol, you're welcome. Carol, unmute yourself and then you speak. Maybe as Carol is preparing to unmute herself and speak, Wangeshi had a small question. You said you have dyscalculia. What does that simply mean? Because I know we have friends of people in our in our platform. Maybe you could elaborate a bit.
Dyscalculia is okay. I don't have the direct definition, but I can actually Google it as Carol asked the question. However, what I've been told, it's mainly when you have one kind of time with math, like understanding it, and at the level, for me personally, I'm a very slow learner when it comes to learning math because that's just not my skill. And so it's mainly when you struggle with math and learning to understand the numbers and exactly what they're like, exactly what you're required to do, basically. Well, let me Google the definition as Carol asks her question.
That's fine. I think that's basically it. You struggle with arithmetics, math, and you maybe need another way of explaining and another approach, way of thinking of teaching it. Yes, welcome, Carol. Just unmute
Thank
yourself
you,
and speak.
Connie. Can you hear me?
Yes, that's good. We can.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Once again, I'm Carol, joining in from Uganda. Thank you, Wangechi, for sharing your experience, and it was a great one. And you're very lucky that you went into those schools that are very accommodative, the teachers who were welcoming and they were willing to support your need. I think it's a very great challenge here because for us, in Uganda here, we do our role as teachers in primary. I'm a primary teacher, I'm a primary science teacher. We try by all means to support these learners where they need help, the dyslexic ones, the ones who have dyscalculia. Like we try with all types of things. But when they go to upper secondary classes where we are not there, it becomes tricky. Like the curriculums are different, they're not accommodative at all. We're here wondering what happens after the low primary when these kids join the secondary schools. Like, it's a very great challenge, but if anyone can help us, like, advise on how we could still support these learners, because the primary level is not the end of their learning, they still need our help. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Is there anybody who would like to answer Carol's concern that how can we get support for schools that are not as that don't operate like Wangeshi's school?
If I may answer, for me, even the teacher I have, she teaches both primary and high school. So they basically do both. So it's not really like she's like dedicated at high school, because on some days because we have two campuses, she goes to lower primary, and then other days in upper primary. No, not high school. And I think it starts with awareness, because most teachers are not aware about dyslexia and all those other things. Because when someone has a general understanding on what it is, it can help. And I think I would advise a learning lab. It doesn't require a lot. I think it just, for us, it mainly required like, we just had like a room, and I would usually go either early in the morning or in the evening, or if I had like a free period of time, I would go to the learning lab. And even most of these teachers even taught kindergarten who have dyslexia and all those other things. So what would happen? We would still learn, and it's more of just reading, literally, more of reading and using the book for writing. But I didn't really struggle with writing, so it was more reading and spelling. So we'd usually all get like a book, an exercise book on the learning lab. Okay, so the learning lab for in Potterhouse is like this room with, okay, it's a that has toys and all those, okay, not toys, but learning, different ways of learning. Like if someone learns through touch and like seeing things, not seeing them written down, but seeing them and physically touching them. So they accommodated for that, like the things for math, the one, I don't know what it's called exactly, but they had, and the other things for counting, they would use beads and you'd be able to count with them, like how many numbers of these. My teacher would be like, if we have if we have 10 beads and then you take away five of them, how many do you have left? Five. And they would do like that. And so these teachers would mainly be for the learning lab. However, they taught other subjects in other classes. So they were multitasking. So teacher who teaches at the learning lab is basically a learning support teacher who comes to a student with either dyslexia or ADHD, and they're well informed on this child's needs specifically. Now, I think for what was good is that even though I have dyslexia, they didn't pull me out of class or go and start learning like an entire syllabus dedicated to guys who are dyslexic. What they would do is they would create time for me in the timetable for me to go to class. Then from going to class and to the lab, I would be given worksheets and all those learning and all those spelling papers and writing materials to go and do, and we'd get homework. So I think if you're trying to create a learning lab, it's not that difficult, because we can, resource center. It just needs a few teachers who understand. Like even most day, it started with like teachers, and then they'd sit down and they would each get students. Like my teacher had 7 students. She do all 7 at the same time. She would teach them individually so that your needs are catered for individually. Then during exam season, they put every one of us different classes. We don't sit in the same examining. Sometimes we would sit in the same examining room so that they can be added more time depending on when the exam has started. So sometimes I would go to the learning. Most times, actually, I would go to the lab during my exam seasons. And if I had an exam for maybe 1 hour, and this was mainly when we were setting, I could do it for 2 hours to accommodate, and the teacher can read for me and write for me. So I think that's from what a learning lab is at Potterhouse.
Thank you so much, Wangeshi, for elaborating that. I see iPhone has a hand up, and then we have a few more questions on the chat. But iPhone, You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Cowdens. I am really impressed on how you are presenting the presenter. I came in a bit late, so I am not aware of your name. But then it has been a very nice presentation. I really want to know what happened in your life. What steps did you take, or the teachers, the parents take to make you that confident, first of all? And then the next thing, I want you to share your story of how the society treats you and how the school treats you to make you that confident. I think I'm really impressed.
Wangechi, that question?
Wow.
Okay, so number one, I have a very outgoing personality. So for me, that one wasn't really like that big of a struggle. And most of my classmates have been with them for around, actually going to 9, 10 years. So like the kind of comfortability that what else has. And it's also a Christian school. And they have a very like, Christian-based tradition. Like we'd have devotions every morning and even praise and worships. Like most our morning slots for 30 minutes are mainly dedicated to devotions and all those other things. And we have chapel and like one portals doesn't restrict someone just because they have a learning disability or any form of anything. Because even my friend or this girl called Angie, she has autism and she's even in the same team. And even me, I did swimming and all those other extracurriculars. And there's so many people in my school who are different. Okay, well, that many, but there's like 1 or 2 people in a year. And in a year, we're around 40 to 45. Yeah. So it's mainly that nobody was really restricted from doing anything. Like if you want to do football, you can do football. If you want to do swimming, you can do swimming. And even someone who's autistic, you'll see them doing sports, like real, like heavy sports and all those other games. And the teachers are very accommodating, number two. And even my classmates, like most of my classmates have known for a really long time. And actually one of them they used to tell me things, stories, okay, not stories, but they used to tell me about successful people who are dyslexic in a way where like, hey, you're gonna be more successful than all of us because blah blah blah, you're like this. So I think mainly the accommodative, I think it also depends because I know that's not what you get every year. But even it's all we always say it's about the teacher's understanding, but even my classmates' understanding took a while because when you tell people, like especially if you tell a child that the child has dyslexia at that age, they won't really understanding, especially because number one, dyslexia is a complicated word, and number two, even understanding the meaning of it and how it looks like. Because when someone says like you have, I don't want to be mean, but maybe you have cancer, like your hair starts coming out because of chemotherapy, so it's visible. But now when you say someone's dyslexia, it's not something that you can see like physically. So you're telling someone this person has dyslexia, they're like, but you look okay and there's nothing that's wrong about you. So I think it depends on people's understanding of what it is and how and determines how they react towards it, and even teachers' accommodation, because no teacher should make someone feel bad because God decided that you're going to be gifted like this, not the regular kind of gifting, but the very extraordinary one. And even from the school community and above and beyond, it's mainly that what I've realized, I know this might not be for everyone, but for me, the more work I put into the more work we did in the learning lab, the easier it became in school, which led to a lot of my successes. And even on top of that, we have like a psychologist, not psychologist, a therapist who's also a psychologist that who talks to people about these things. Like we have mental awareness week, dyslexia week, all those other activities that create an informed environment that this is a real thing and a real struggle. I also really think it depends on the person, because I know also want to say, how did you become so? Because I was asked that, and my aunt was explaining it to me, because for me, funny enough, I started speaking when I was very young and all those other things, but it also depends on who that person is and whether or not they're extroverted or introverted. Yeah, but for me, I was kind of in between. And it also depends on their understanding of what dyslexia is and creating it informed, but not painting it out in a bad way. Because I think when we start with a wrong kind of narrative, then that creates issues. Because from what I've heard, most people don't really grasp what dyslexia is. They mainly look at it from a negative point of view. And when we change the narrative, and it's even better when people don't know, because then you can create the narrative yourself, it becomes easier and more understandable. And also trying to understand how that person feels, because mainly my school, they would usually, even my principal would be like, how do you feel? You're like this. There are certain things that you have to do that some other people won't do. And when most people would hear I have extra time for exam, they'd be like, oh, you're lucky. And I'd be like, yeah, but that's because of being dyslexic. So yeah, that's my opinion, my take on your question.
Thank you, Wangeshi, and you answered it very well. I have a question on the platform. I don't know who would like to take this. What support would be available for an adult who has dyslexic symptoms? Second question, can it be effectively diagnosed in adults? And are there any centers that can help them? Who would like to take on this question? Because I know we have many experts in the platform. Anybody would like to take this on? Wangeshi, do you have anything to say on these questions? What support would be available for an adult with dyslexic symptoms?
Off the top of my head is there was a lady at the conference who talked about awareness at the office. I think even as an adult, I believe that there's a HR where you work and that you're able to, especially if it's a hands-on kind of job, involved and all those other things, you're able to go and tell them, I have this and this and this, and it's something I was born with. I would like accommodations. And if that doesn't work, as we're all here today, we're a big group of people help one another. So I think it starts with telling the people who already know and asking them on what you should do, and mainly just working with what you know. And if things at the office don't work out, I believe that there are further communities out there that will work out better. So yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Take on that.
We have a senior person. I would also want to say something about this. What would be available for an adult who has dyslexic symptoms? I would feel, okay, I would want to suggest that by the time you reach adulthood, you've already figured out survival strategies in areas you struggle. Like that lady in the conference said, when she's explained for something, she actually works for. When she's explained for something, she knows it as fast as everyone else, but she has strategies. She takes more time to understand that concept, and she puts that hard work at that task. she uses her support. She has support amongst the colleagues who actually help her go through the task. And then once she gets it forever, and she gets it even better than any other person. So the support would be available, and really you have to take an initiative. You have to advocate for yourself. If you don't look for strategies of surviving, sometimes life can be very hard. And can it be effectively diagnosed? Yes, dyslexia can be diagnosed in adulthood, and centers to help in adulthood. Honestly, we've already figured out what you're strong at and what you're weak at. But of course, support like this, continuing to get awareness, is a good option. I'm seeing a hand from Vincent. Vincent, you're welcome to add on to what I have said, and Wangeshi. Welcome, Dr. Vincent.
Thank you, Claudence. I'm audible enough to be heard.
You need to increase your volume a bit more.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
Okay. So, Wangeshi, I will say congratulations for being that and presenting about experience. Very few people can do whatever you have done. So keep it up to share and create awareness. That was perfect of you. I heard your story, and you have made it to that level. Please let the sky be the limit, or whichever. I will just like to react to the question that is on the platform, because when you talk of dyslexia, we have to ask ourselves, at which point do we realize that we can't read and write? At which point do we realize we can't read and write? Because currently, in developing countries, education in most of the countries, the government education is free. So I presume, or I suppose, that somebody must have gone to the halls of a class just to realize the 26 alphabetical letters. So at that point, if you can't have the phonological awareness, or rather identify or recognize or blend them, or try to bring the digraph together, then there's a cause for alarm at that point. So it must not be waited until that point. I know it might be difficult in some of the environments that we are in, but if people are keen enough, it doesn't have to surpass at the age of even 10 for you to be identified as having one of the areas, the way Wangeshi will allow me to use you, as one that was identified as being dyscalculia. Again, also, if you read the same code of practice, when somebody who has been diagnosed as having or suspected as having a case who is receiving support, when they reach the age of 17, 18, 19, there's a call for what we call further education. That is in the same code of practice. I think maybe it is the last article in the same code of practice. If you're practicing SEN, you must have read this article. Those who are in this forum, and they're SEN teachers maybe, and they're SEN practitioners. There's a code of practice that if you're in UK, you can't practice until you know these articles that are there, so that you don't just do things and people might go and sue you. So when you reach the age of 18, they have to plan for you. And now that is where now the support comes in. Which kind of support? Because now we have found out you have this condition. So you are going out to the world. So we don't wait for you to go to the world and then ask us, how do we support you? So we be proactive, we plan for you. And that's why in developed countries like UK, US, and the others, you'll find out there's a document called EHCP, Education Healthcare Plans. These plans are going until we ensure that we transition this person from the education level to the employability, the ability that we can get a job. That's why we call it employability. And at this point, I would like to mention one of the programs that I came across in one of my engagements. It's called the Ask Dan program. It's an accredited program where it trains the skills, different kind of areas. Accreditation or accredited means that this certificate sometimes, or in some areas, it can assist this guy with condition to have employability or even be enrolled in some of the centers, some of the schools and so forth. So I'll put it in the chat where you can just Google it and find it. They offer accredited kind of skill-based training. So it's called ASDAN program. So it's only trained by people who have also been trained to train the ASDAN program. So it's like going to a teacher's college. You have to be trained with people who have been trained to train you to become a teacher. So it's called the ASDAN program. That's a program that people can also check on it. I don't know much about the cost and the aspect, but it's a program that I've witnessed people being enrolled and getting skills and certificates, and some certificates in some countries are being accepted for them to be enrolled in different areas. So again, I've mentioned skilled based. So they check your skill. What are you best in? So they train you in that skill. So it's not a matter of now letting these people or wanting you to know how to read and so forth. So when you reach the age of 18, a plan should have been set already. People should have found out that you have this condition. So Wangeshi will allow me to use this as a case study. So if, for instance, now Wangeshi is there, so she has already identified and she has accepted this, and that's why she's making it further, because acceptance is there now. The problem that we have, or people have, is that they fail to accept. And acceptance takes so much time. The more we deny, the more we are losing the chances of having of the child, if you're a parent, or of you as a person who has been diagnosed by a condition, to be assisted. So it calls for, first of all, realization through awareness, accepting that you have this condition or the condition exists within the family, and see how best am I going to adaptability now to the society. Although the society might not be having the acceptability or the acceptance in it, but if you adapt and say, fine, I'm having this, but I don't need to sympathize, but rather I need to empathize about this condition, so that now you say, okay, the society should not see me that I cannot. Your statements are just, I cannot. No, it doesn't work like that. But if you say that I can and I will do it because so and so, who is famous author, who is famous act has done it, then you are going to succeed. So acceptance comes in. At the age of 18, I'm repeating, it should have been known that this person is turning to adulthood and he has this condition. So what are the programs in place? This one does not go in as far as developed countries or developing countries are concerned. No. If we really need to make a change, it starts with me and you. So whether we're in developing countries like African continent, whether we're in Europe, it cuts across. Structures have to be put in place with these things. We should not just wait to be assisted or people to come and say, okay, fine, please, no. We need to think from outside the box, beyond our noses, that how best can we encapsulate such kind of programs? Let's start from somewhere so that people can find us, that you are in this, you have started from here and you're here. I will assist you to reach this place. But if we wait and say, okay, fine, let us sit and wait for manna from heaven, it won't fall. So we need to start from me and you, change the society, look at the simple program that we can have within the society. If it is the Dyslexia Tanzania, plus the people within the group and the support forums, this is very fine and healthy. But what about after the support program? What do we have for our children? What do we have for the society? What do we have for Tanzania? What we have for the people, other people within the continent, within the Eastern Africa, if it is Eastern, we move so that we create that umbrella. The thing that I came to realize is that we don't write our own. We wait for people to write for us so that we read what they have written for us. We don't believe in ourselves. So if we start from a point where we can believe and say that we can start a program and see how it runs. For instance, this Dyslexia Tanzania is there. The Bloom Dyslexia is there. There's so many organizations that are there that can support this and say, okay, fine. Past 18 is the challenge. We can have the students within the age of 0 to 18. But what next after 18? That is the question that most of the parents, even in developed countries, are asking. What next for my child, teacher? My child is being 17. My child has been diagnosed by not only dyslexia, but dyslexia is a comorbid kind of condition within another condition. What next for my child? Are there programs that I'm going to enroll my child? It begins with us, all of us as stakeholders. It's not coders only. It's not, Wangeshi. It's not, but all of us as stakeholders. If we need to make that change, it comes from me and you. So let us see how best can we start this. How best can the, because in as much as we have that, some organizations, fine, but they can't support all of them. They can't support all the people who have been diagnosed with different conditions. How best can we try to bring our heads together? It will take time, but our children are going to enjoy. So thank you, Claudians.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vincent. I wanted to say something before we continue. Philbert, I've seen your hand. This morning, I was speaking to a parent from the US. I'm just saying this because it relates to Dr. Vincent's comment and Wangeshi's comment partly. You know, this parent from the US, they also had awareness issues. Her son has dyslexia and is now joining college. The school where the son was studying didn't have awareness about dyslexia. She fought until there were accommodations. The son was supported. She came up with Otto Gillingham programs, Inspire programs, and now the school, actually most schools, they are adopting these programs because these programs don't only work for dyslexics, they also work for other type of students. So when the school adopted these programs, it was amazing that now more children are struggling less with studies. But I wanted to say something. There's a question Anne Mwasioke asked. By the way, do not know Anne Mwasioke works for TBC. So it's very good that we have people from the with her, and she's one of our ambassadors. There's a question she asked why Wangeshi seems to have a lot of confidence and believes in himself. This reminded me what this parent from the US told me. They did a research and had students from private schools do a questionnaire, compared the same questionnaire with students from public schools. Amazingly, students from public schools didn't have any hope. Their confidence was very low. They were, what do you want to do after school? They were like, well, they didn't believe in themselves because the public school system did not support them as much as the private students were supported in private institutions. So the children from private institutions were all very hopeful. Some wanted to go to do engineering at NASA. None of the confidence was found in children from the public school. This tells us that we have a lot of work to do. You all have heard that Wangeshi is in a school where there are 40-something students, learning lab. This you cannot find in a public school, but we all can work together to improve conditions of students in public schools, because this is where most of our children are. The percentage of students in these high-end schools is very low. So it takes you and me to make the difference in our community. Let's continue creating awareness. Let's continue speaking about these things so that we can support children also in public schools. Philbert, your hand has been up. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Kens. I've joined today a little bit late, but for the time being, I enjoyed. Thank you so much, Dr. Vincent, and other members who had contributed for today's presentation. Today, I just want to add or to speak something very shortly concerning today's topic. And what I want to say is the youth with dyslexia, apart from being a child, then transforming, going to youth, and then adult, first of all, these people and all of us here, we need to know this, that anything needs to have a foundation. Now, if you see like Wangeci and other people having confidence, they are dyslexia, but having confidence, it means there was a foundation which was built somewhere. And if we build foundation down from lower to upper, these people, while they grow up, they will have a very good confidence. I have recently I've been in a workshop speaking to some youth. Now, these youth, they have a lot of confidence. Why? Because we have some people who believe in their ability. Now, Wangesi and other people, they are doing well because I know there are some people, either parents, either teachers, or either any supporting people who believed what they have. So if we as the society, we as the community, we as the education stakeholders and the parents, we need first to create awareness, to believe that these people, they can do better, and also not neglecting, not just forcing them to perform well. You know, these people, they are born with I can say they have inborn talents. Now it's just the matter of us, the community, the parents, to expose their hidden potential, their hidden talents. You may find you have a youth who people don't believe on him or her, but deep inside this person, maybe may find is a good artist, is a good drawer. You are just forcing him to understand all things about biology, about maybe physics, but this person, this pupil is a singer. You may find is a very good singer. But if you tell him now, compose a song concerning about digestion system, you may find this pupil will compose and will enjoy that and will give you a very good presentation. So it's just believing on them, creating a road, a road for these people to pass, because these people, they need just to make it. We need to make them aware that you people, you youth, you are going somewhere. You can do better than what you achieve in class, but also making them to believe that they have talents, and they can, once they cultivate their talents can make them be a very potential and great people in our society. We have real example. We have I know, I love to speak about this person because he has influenced me a lot, Masud Kipanya, and many more other people whom we know. So it's just we as parents, we as the society, to just continue encouraging them and continue giving the morale, the material support, and whatever we can do so as we can push. I know this is what I believe, and I'll continue believing until the end of days, that these people, they can do wonders in the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Teacher Philbert. And someone has written on the chat that there is a Kenya Community Center for Learning, which introduced ASDAN curriculum years back. I would like to say that we have something to do for our community. Kenya Community Center for Learning was just started by parents. Their children were struggling in other schools. People didn't understand. They decided, let's start a center for our children. So each individual person who is with us today, think of how you can help the community around you. Asha, you're welcome. Then Wangeshi.
Yeah, thank
Asha?
you. Yeah, thank you, Candace. Yeah, I agree with Teacher Philbert. Basically, what I've learned with my son, basically, is the confidence they get starts from where they live. That is the parents. If you, the parent, mother or father, believe in your child and you make them believe they're capable of doing anything, basically it will build that confidence in them to be able to, do anything. On top of that, yes, teachers. An example with my son. Once we took him to that school, the Kenya Community Center for Learning. I remember him being confused, being, not understanding why have I been brought here. And he did not, accommodate the whole system. In fact, for the first, I think, 2 weeks, he did not mingle with the children. He did not eat the lunch food that is provided in the school. During breaks, he could just go away from, separating himself from the other children. But there is this teacher who did her magic. I don't know what she did. She spoke to him, and honestly, I don't know what she told him or what she did. But that after 2 weeks, I saw a transformed person altogether. And as much as in the house, I could, talk to him all the time, but with the help of the teacher also, he realized, I can do it. And within a short time, a boy who was not drawing or painting anything in the house, all of a sudden, in an art class, he did a portrait of a lion. And when I was shown that portrait, I could not believe it was him, because I've never seen him painting or drawing. As much as we bought several things in the house, but he basically just did that. And the reaction from me as a mother and the teacher and the other students, I think, made him see that I can actually do this. And that gave him a lot of confidence. He ended up becoming one of the popular students in that class. And it became like a small family away from the house. And that's what I'm saying. The confidence from a child will be boosted more if the parent supports the child and make them believe whatever this dyslexic is, it's not the end of the world. You are, normal. I don't even know that name, normal, where it's coming from. But basically, you are able and more able to do things even better than other people. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to just add. And that curriculum, it's a British system where the school, what they did is basically helped a child according to their level. You see, most of the schools, what they do is there's a curriculum for this term, and the teachers make sure that all students are aligned. They need to be able to reach a certain level by a certain time. And if that is not done, they'll push other students to be able to reach the same level with the rest. But with this curriculum, basically what it does, picks the child from where you are and guiding the student to be able to perform according to how they can. And honestly speaking, what I've learned is not all students or not all children are capable of becoming, to excel in more classroom stuff, but they can excel in extracurricular, sports, arts, acting, public speaking, etc. And that's where we are with my son. He is a sport person. He's a very good goalkeeper. Yeah, he is also in public speaking, which you're working on. So yeah, basically it is, I still insist, parents support, love your children, and make them believe they're capable of doing anything. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Asha. Thank you, Asha, for sharing. And by the way, Asha's son was one of the speakers in the Dyslexia Rising Africa conference. I can't wait to have him share his story on this platform. So we just need to change the community mindset and support dyslexic learners. I'm gonna have Wangeshi. Wangeshi, you're welcome. I can see your hand is up. And then before Wangeshi speaks, we have only 4 minutes remaining. Wangeshi, welcome.
I want to say that for me in Waterhouse, it wasn't only them accommodating. It began with a teacher that left Potter, who had a daughter that was dyslexic, and she advocated for people who are dyslexic and have different learning methods and all that. And she advocated for them, and that's how the learning lab began. And I also think that I also agree with everything that everyone has said, because like it doesn't have to be a really big change, like the whole system can like change overnight, because that's a gradual process. However, like those small things, that's where you help as a teacher, you help someone, that can be your change, because as someone said earlier, that change starts with you. And even for that teacher who left, she started by advocating for her daughter and really looking into what dyslexia means. And now she works at learning support, and she helps other students with dyslexia because she's learned to accept who her daughter is. And her daughter is actually studying somewhere in the UK, which is amazing. And I think it's mainly because of doing that, because until she had come and I was being told that she's the main advocate for people with disabilities in our school. So yeah.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Wangeshi, for adding that. So this session of tonight, if you've been keen, you will understand that there is need for having parents take initiative to support their children. That one, support starts from home. It's also about teachers. Teachers have been mentioned, and I'm so glad I have quite a number of teachers in the platform tonight. So teachers, you can make or break a student. I discovered with my son also that he had specific teachers. Those teachers who are supporting him became his favorites, and he didn't disappoint them. So teachers in the room tonight, please just know that you have a lot of influence to either break or make a student. You see, there's always that teacher who has supported. And so I thank you so much. Wangeshi, you said your teacher is in the platform. Could he maybe say hi or say something?
He stepped out. However, he
Okay.
joined to support, and he said thank you for inviting me. And I also want to say thank you. He was my math teacher, and yeah.
Thank you so much, Wangeshi. I give it a special consideration to any teacher who would like to say something. Teacher Upendo, are you there? Yes, Teacher Upendo, or any other teacher would like to say something before we close this session?
Hello, I am Teacher Elizabeth, and I'm very happy to be here with my student, Philip. He is doing some work with students who are dyslexic and autistic. We are very happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. We are happy to have you tonight. I think you're joining us for the first time. We met at the conference as well. So next time there's a conference, friend, let's try to attend. You see, we made very important contacts. Elizabeth is based in Rwanda. It's a small world with technology. So Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone else who joined us tonight, we are grateful for your support. Thank you for coming. The more knowledge we have, the better we will support those around us. And Wangeshi, you did an amazing job. know how to thank you. Thank you so much. I know you're a student, you had other things to do, but you offered to share your experience. This is not something we take lightly. Thank you so much, and we hope to hear from you in future. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.
And you have a wonderful evening as well.
Thank you so much.